ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਬਜਟ 2022 ਦੇ ਨਿਵੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰਿਕ ਵਾਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੁਨਿਆਦੀ ਢਾਂਚੇ ਲਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਤਸਾਹਨ ਨੂੰ ਉਜਾਗਰ ਕੀਤਾ। ਉਪਾਵਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਈਵੀ ਚਾਰਜਿੰਗ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰੀ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਈਵੀਐਸ ਤੇ $5000 ਦੀ ਖਰੀਦਦਾਰੀ ਛੋਟ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਰਚ 2025 ਤੱਕ ਵਧਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ। ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਕਲੀਨ ਐਨਰਜੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਜਕਾਰੀ ਨਿਰਦੇਸ਼ਕ ਮੇਟ ਸਮਿਥ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਏ।
First of all, we're making EVs easier to buy. We're extending the program of up to $5,000 to help people buy electric vehicles. We're bringing in new mandatory sales targets of 20% by 2026, 60% by 2030, on the way to 100% by 2035. We're also going to make EVs easier to charge. We're building a national network of chargers on top of the thousands already installed or under construction. We know we need to cut emissions. We know we need to reduce pollution. But one of the best ways of doing that is to get more clean cars on the road. As Laurie and David were telling me, their EV works great and is much cheaper to power than their gas car. Too often, though, electric vehicles aren't in reach. So we're making smart, targeted investments to change that. With this budget, with everything we've been working on, we're moving forward on everything from a new tax credit for clean tech, to protecting old-growth forests, to retrofits for people's homes. This budget and the emissions reduction plan of the week before is about real results for people like Laurie and David, and especially Alexandria. Whether it's climate action or making housing more affordable, we're investing in Canadians and in our future.
ਮਿਸੀਸਾਗਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਐਗਲਿੰਗਟਨ ਕ੍ਰੋਸਟਾਊਨ ਵੈਸਟ ਐਕਸਟੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਸੁਰੰਗ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਤੇ ਚਰਚਾ ਕੀਤੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੈਰੋਲਿਨ ਮੁਲਰੋਨੀ ਅਤੇ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਸੰਘੀ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਅਲਗਬਰਾ ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਜੌਨ ਟੋਰੀ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਏ।
My friends, our government is building Ontario. We're building roads, bridges and highways. We're expanding subways and public transit, and we're constructing more homes, all for a growing province. And today is another landmark day as we break ground on a new tunnel for the Eglinton West Crosstown Extension. The extension is a 7-stop subway line that will connect communities and businesses across Toronto, Etobicoke, and Mississauga. Communities that have been massively underserved by their transit options. Today, we take a big step forward in changing that. Despite the rapid growth in population that has been happening in the GTA, previous governments refused to make the necessary investments to ensure our transit system kept pace. For years, they talked and debated, they formed committees, and they asked for endless studies. After all that, they failed to deliver as Ontarians continued to wait. But since our government took office, we have been on a mission to build Ontario, to cut through red tape and finally get the shovels in the ground on the new infrastructure that a growing province so desperately needs. Today's groundbreaking is just one more proof that we're getting it done when others wouldn't and didn't. Together with our federal and municipal partners, we're saying to the commuters in the GTA that you've waited long enough for transit options.
ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਮਹਾਮਾਰੀ ਕਾਰਨ 2 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬੰਦ ਪਈ ਕਰੂਜ਼ ਸ਼ਿਪ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਮੁੜ ਰਵਾਂ ਹੋਈ ਪਈ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕੱਲ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਕਰੂਜ਼ ਸ਼ਿਪ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ ਸੀ। ਮਹਾਮਾਰੀ ਕਾਰਨ ਲੜਖੜਾ ਰਹੀ ਟੂਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੁਲਾਰਾ ਮਿਲਣ ਦੀ ਆਸ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਲੰਬੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕਰੂਜ਼ ਸ਼ਿਪ ਦੇ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਪਹੁੰਚਣ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਵੀ ਉਚੇਚੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਨ।
I think it's really important to remind everyone that COVID is still with us. And that we have to remain vigilant and we have to remain careful. You know, doctors and scientists are telling us it's not over yet, and they're telling us there are going to be other variants. Today we have more tools than we did a couple of years ago. We have vaccines, we have medical treatments, we have better understanding of how COVID transmits, so we have to wear masks when necessary. So it's really important that everybody remains vigilant because the direct route flies over Russian territory. So the other routes that goes through other European airspace requires a stopover. So as far as I know right now, those are the options. I'm sure Air Canada is examining what else they can do, but for now, I ask that people are understanding and that they are patient. And I know they all support everything we can do to end this war on Ukraine. So I hear the community loud and clearly. And in fact, at the next opportunity, when I have an opportunity to speak with Air Canada, I will let them know that there is significant demand. And I ask and I hope that Air Canada will assess their decision. But ultimately, I want to be clear, I cannot force Air Canada to do anything based on their private. Look, if there's any obstacle from a legal point of view, I'll certainly look into it. But as far as I know, there are none. The agreement with India allows for such flight. So I think it's just a business decision by Air Canada. Like how many businesses received wage subsidy? How many businesses received rent subsidy? How many businesses received loans during COVID? It is not the way government operates. Government provides support to protect jobs, to protect viability of the business, to protect our economy. But there's a fine line between offering support for public policy objective, but also interfering in how they make their business decisions on the best of their ability.
Our artists, people that work with us, that do this art, they can finally have some income, has business. They all have family to feed, right? So it's been very, very difficult.
ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਵਿੱਚ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਚੀਫ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਆਫੀਸਰ ਆਫ ਹੈਲਥ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਕਿਰਨ ਮੂਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਦੀ 6ਵੀਂ ਵੇਵ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਇੰਡੋਰ ਸੈਟਿੰਗਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਸਕ ਲਗਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਣ ਦੀ ਅਪੀਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ। ਮਾਸਕ ਹਟਾਉਣ ਜਾਂ ਨਾ ਹਟਾਉਣ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਅਗਲੇ ਪਲਾਨ ਦਾ ਮੁਲਾਂਕਣ ਇਸ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦੇ ਅੰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ। ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਵਾਇਰਸ ਫੈਲਣ ਦੇ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੇ ਸੰਕੇਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਚੱਲਦਿਆਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਮੂਰ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦੇ ਅਰਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਜਨਤਕ ਤੌਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ।
It is clear that we are in the sixth wave of this pandemic, driven by the BA.2 variant. In the last few weeks, we have seen an increase in the percent positivity, an upward trend in wastewater surveillance, and a rise in hospitalizations. These trends are likely to continue for the next several weeks, but there are actions that we can take to help manage the impact of this wave, such as layering the personal protective measures we have adopted so well over the last 2 years, even when they may not be legally required. These include a strong recommendation to continue wearing a well-fitted 3-layer mask or use of a medical mask in all public indoor settings. And please continue to respect the ongoing mask requirements that remain in place, including in hospitals and other healthcare settings, long-term care homes and retirement homes, congregate settings that provide care and services to medically and socially vulnerable individuals, such as children's treatment centers, in shelters, public transit, as well as the federal requirements for returning international travelers. I also want to remind Ontarians that if you test positive for COVID-19, you should continue to wear a mask at all times for 5 days following your isolation period, and avoid vulnerable people in places like hospitals and long-term care. Also, for masking, household and other close contacts of a COVID positive case are reminded that they should be wearing a mask at all times and avoiding vulnerable individuals in settings for 10 days.
ਚੇਤਰ ਨਵਰਾਤਰੀ ਦੇ ਆਖਰੀ ਦਿਨ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੇ ਵਿਸ਼ਵ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੀ ਧੂਮਧਾਮ ਨਾਲ ਮਨਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ। ਇਹ 9 ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਤਿਉਹਾਰ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਉੱਤਰੀ ਭਾਰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੇ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨਾਲ ਮਨਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਸ ਤਿਉਹਾਰ ਦੀ ਅਹਿਮੀਅਤ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ।
सबसे पहले नवरात्रि की सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। आज लास्ट दिन नवरात्रि का है, आज दशहरा है, तो दशहरा की भी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं आपके दर्शकों को। नवरात्रि 9 दिन की होती है। हम 9 दिन में 9 देवियों को हम पूजते हैं, दुर्गा माँ के 9 स्वरूप को हम पूजते हैं। और ये एक सेलिब्रेशन है फेमिनिटी को सेलिब्रेट करना, फेमिनिटी को एम्पावरमेंट देना। तो ये सिर्फ एक रिचुअल हो जाता है जहाँ पे हम 9 दिन फास्टिंग, पूरी तरह से फास्टिंग होती है, 9 दिन की पूजा पाठ होता है, चौकी बैठती है माता रानी की, लोग आते हैं अष्टमी नवमी, सप्तमी अष्टमी नवमी को, और एक त्योहार जैसा माहौल हो जाता है। और हम यहाँ पे कनाडा में कर रहे हैं तो फिर इसका तो और महत्व वैसे ही बढ़ जाता है, क्योंकि हमें ये हमारे घर की, हमारे देश की याद दिलाता है, हमारे कम्युनिटी लोगों के साथ एक मेल मिलाप करा देता है। तो चैत्र नवरात्रि माता रानी का आगमन प्रतीक करता है, स्प्रिंग का आगमन प्रतीक करता है, नेचर को दर्शाता है, और माता रानी के 9 रूप को वो दर्शाता है। इन दिनों में जो भी भक्तजन माता रानी को पूजता है, उनकी सेवा करता है, उनको माता रानी बहुत ज़्यादा आशीर्वाद, उनके घर परिवार को आशीर्वाद देती है। और एक स्पिरिचुअलिटी का माहौल जो आज की तारीख में बहुत ज़रूरत है, वो बढ़ जाता है।
This was a time to start bringing people back together again. Since we had the go-ahead with the government, saying that, okay, COVID, restrictions have been starting to lift, you can have people inside the house again. So that's why we decided, okay, you know what, this is the time. People are, getting bored sitting at home, to doing the pujas even at home by themselves. The spirit is not there. The energy is not there when people do it themselves by themselves. When there is a group, when there's people around, there's more energy, there's more life. It brings the whole, puja into a different perspective altogether.
Yes.
Having all these people in our home really engaged me in the festival. Like, I felt the feminine energy, which what Navratri is, within our home, with all the women coming to our house, the young girls dancing, playing garba, the music, and doing puja. So the 9 days of this Navratri was very uplifting to me as a young girl, seeing my mom fast for 9 days and seeing her so engaged in puja.
My mom with the little things like decorating the house, getting the sweets on the table. I cleaned the backyard. We made the diyas together. We picked the flowers. It was a good experience.